Donald Trump has always thrived on mockery. From labeling rivals with insulting nicknames to ridiculing opponents on stage, humiliation has been his favorite political weapon. But in a striking turn of events, California Governor Gavin Newsom has turned that weapon back on him and done so with devastating precision. The result? Trump, a man who once commanded the national stage with insults and bravado, is now the one visibly rattled, struggling to defend himself as Newsom dismantles MAGA lies with a mix of sharp wit and brutal mockery. Our thesis today is clear. Gavin Newsom has humiliated Donald Trump not by engaging him on Trump's terms of raw anger, but by reframing the battlefield into one where satire, facts, and relentless exposure make Trump's weaknesses impossible to ignore. This isn't just about one governor poking fun at an ex-president. It's about the broader erosion of Trump's ability to control the narrative, especially as his movement hinges on grievance politics and cultural disinformation. In this video, we'll first set the stage by looking at the political climate that allowed Newsom to seize this moment. Then we'll dive into the core analysis: how Newsom mocked Trump's tiny hands and authoritarian theatrics, dismantled Trump's bizarre claims about California wildfires, and weaponized facts like state crime rates and economic contributions to expose the emptiness of MAGA talking points. Finally, we'll explore what this clash means for the future of American politics and why Newsom's strategy may represent a new playbook for confronting Trumpism. To understand why Gavin Newsom's mockery cuts so deeply, we need to examine the political moment surrounding it. By late 2023 and into 2024, Donald Trump was facing not only mounting legal troubles, from indictments related to election interference to civil fraud judgments, but also growing doubts about his fitness for leadership. Even as he dominated Republican primary polls, cracks in his once untouchable image began to show. His rambling speeches, fixation on petty grievances, and authoritarian-style imagery, like plastering his face on government banners, made him vulnerable to ridicule in ways he hadn't been before. Newsom recognized this vulnerability. As governor of California, he had often been cast as Trump's foil, a leader of a deep blue state representing everything MAGA Republicans claim to despise: progressive values, climate policies, and a multicultural base. Trump repeatedly mocked California for homelessness, crime, and woke politics, trying to paint the state as a dystopian warning. But Newsom flipped the script. Instead of responding defensively, he chose to mock Trump right back, highlighting the absurdities of Trump's claims and contrasting them with hard data. California's economy ranking as the world's fourth largest, its role as a net contributor to federal revenues, and crime rates in red states often outpacing those in blue states. The stakes in this confrontation go beyond personal insults. Trumpism depends on manufacturing culture war controversies, whether over Cracker Barrel logos or fabricated outrage about wokeness. By mocking these distractions, Newsom exposed their hollowness. More importantly, he showed Democrats a path to undercut Trump without appearing overly defensive or sanctimonious. Fight fire with humor, ridicule with ridicule, and back it up with facts. Newsom's decision to mock Trump's physical insecurities and authoritarian theatrics was not random trolling. It was a calculated move to strip away Trump's aura of dominance. In one viral post, Newsom referred to Trump as "little hands" and mocked the former president's obsession with appearances. He also highlighted Trump's decision to drape his face across government buildings Kim Jong-un style, pairing it with memes comparing Trump to dictators. Trump has built his brand around strength, power, and control. For years, he wielded nicknames like Crooked Hillary or Sleepy Joe as political weapons. But Newsom flipped the dynamic. By labeling Trump tiny hands, he punctured the carefully constructed image of a strongman and instead turned him into a punchline. What makes this especially damaging is that Trump's insecurities about his hands have been a running joke since the 1980s. Newsom's mockery reawakened an old wound and exposed Trump's fragile ego at a moment when his credibility was already under siege. The authoritarian comparison also landed powerfully. Trump's critics often accuse him of harboring autocratic tendencies, but Newsom amplified that critique with satire. By juxtaposing Trump's banners with images of dictators, Newsom didn't just argue that Trump was dangerous, he made him look ridiculous. And ridicule is kryptonite to authoritarian figures who depend on fear and control. Newsom exposed Trump's bizarre claim that he diverted hundreds of millions of gallons of water from Northern California reservoirs to fight Southern California wildfires, a geographical impossibility, as evidence of his detachment from reality. In Trump's own words, "We turned on a valve in Northern California which is connected to Canada. Then we put out the fires." Newsom reposted this with memes of giant cartoon faucets, adding biting commentary and even citing dementia research on repetitive false claims. This wasn't merely a gaffe, it was a narrative that revealed Trump's disconnect from facts. California's reservoir systems are not connected to Canada, and draining them would devastate farmers, not stop wildfires. Newsom spotlighted this delusion as not just funny, but dangerous. By tying Trump's story to dementia symptoms, Newsom reframed what might have been dismissed as another Trumpism into a serious question of fitness for office. This tactic worked on two levels. First, it mocked Trump into irrelevance by exposing the absurdity of his statements. Second, it forced the public to confront an uncomfortable truth. If a former president is speaking like this, what does it say about his cognitive health? By weaponizing Trump's own words, Newsom shifted the debate from ideology to competency. Newsom turned MAGA's obsession with culture war distractions, like Cracker Barrel logos or celebrity wokeness, into fodder for satire that exposed their emptiness. When MAGA influencers claimed victory over Cracker Barrel's logo change, Newsom mockingly took credit, posting, "A massive win for Patriots, all because of me, Gavin C. Newsom." He also mocked Fox News for praising him with sarcastic edits of Sean Hannity clips. MAGA thrives on fueling outrage over trivial issues, logos, TV shows, celebrities. These faux controversies serve as political bait, distracting from substantive failures like tariffs, layoffs, or healthcare gaps. Newsom's genius was not to rebut these issues with earnest policy talk, but to mock them mercilessly. By joking that he single-handedly saved Cracker Barrel, he turned the culture war into a comedy show, exposing how hollow MAGA's grievances really are. Even more effectively, Newsom paired satire with statistics. While MAGA raged about woke logos, he pointed out that California contributes $80 billion more to the federal government than it takes, while red states like Texas and Louisiana rely on subsidies. He highlighted crime rates in Arkansas and Louisiana that far exceeded those in California cities. In doing so, he showed that while Republicans peddled distractions, the real data crushed their narrative. This dual strategy, mock the outrage, then counter with facts, was a masterclass in political communication. Beyond mockery, Newsom confronted Trump directly as a fraud, felon, and economic saboteur, reminding Americans of the real consequences of Trump's leadership. Newsom posted memes labeling Trump a felon, sexual abuser, bankrupter, and loser, directly tying them to Trump's legal troubles and business failures. He also criticized Trump's tariffs and immigration raids as job killers that devastated California's agricultural workforce. Trump's political identity relies heavily on the myth of business success and populist strength. Newsom shattered this narrative by hammering home Trump's track record of bankruptcies, his conviction in the E. Jean Carroll sexual assault case, and his legal exposure in multiple fraud cases. Pairing these realities with ridicule turned Trump's weaknesses into viral content that spread far beyond policy circles. Moreover, by focusing on the tangible damage of Trump's policies, higher costs, worker shortages, a stagnant economy, Newsom reconnected political theater to people's daily lives. He reframed Trump not as a culture war hero, but as a failed leader whose policies inflicted real harm. In an age of meme-driven politics, this combination of humor and hard truth proved devastating. The clash between Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump goes beyond memes and insults. It represents a shift in how Democrats may finally confront Trumpism, not by playing defense, but by weaponizing satire, exposing lies with data, and refusing to let MAGA dominate the narrative through outrage cycles. For years, Trump dictated the political conversation by manufacturing culture war distractions, from kneeling athletes to woke corporations. Newsom's approach showed that mocking these distractions while simultaneously grounding the debate in facts strips Trumpism of its potency. The bigger picture is about power in a media-saturated democracy. Ridicule spreads faster than policy papers, and in an age where politics is entertainment, satire may be one of the most effective tools against authoritarian populism. Trump's carefully cultivated strongman image collapses when he is made to look weak, ridiculous, or out of touch. Newsom has demonstrated that Democrats don't need to fear engaging in the spectacle. They can reshape it. Looking ahead, this strategy could define the coming election cycle. As Trump campaigns under the cloud of indictments and questions about his fitness, opponents who highlight both his legal exposure and his absurdities may succeed where sober fact-checking has failed. For Trump, the risk is that his brand, built on dominance and fear, is replaced in the public mind with incompetence and comedy. If that happens, it won't just weaken his campaign. It could erode the broader MAGA movement that thrives on grievance politics. Donald Trump's rise was fueled by mockery, bluster, and a talent for controlling headlines. But now, Gavin Newsom has shown that those same weapons can be turned against him, and when they are, Trump struggles to respond. By highlighting Trump's insecurities, dismantling his bizarre fantasies, mocking MAGA's culture war distractions, and reminding the public of his legal and economic failures, Newsom has proven that ridicule paired with facts is one of the most effective counters to Trumpism. The thesis of this video is simple. Trump thrives on fear, but he cannot survive ridicule. And when his lies collapse under the weight of both satire and evidence, his carefully curated strongman image unravels. That is why this clash matters. It's not just about one governor mocking one ex-president. It's about exposing a political movement built on falsehoods and fragility. So the question remains, if Trump cannot withstand ridicule now, how will he withstand the full force of scrutiny in the months ahead? Will his movement shrink under the weight of truth and laughter, or will MAGA double down in denial? What's your take? Do you think Newsom's strategy is the future of how Democrats should confront Trump? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this analysis valuable, hit like, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth breakdowns that go beyond the headlines. Thanks for watching.